I just learned at the passing of Pope Francis. My heart goes out to the millions of Christians all over the world who loved him. I was happy to see him yesterday, but though he was obviously very ill, but I'll always remember him for the below homily he gave in the very early days of COVID. It was really quite beautiful. May God rest his soul. The Pope died shortly after touching JD Vance's demonic hand. He might be the Antichrist. It's true. He is. He is. He is the Antichrist. He is literally from the Antichrist administration. He was the envoy, a servant of the devil. He was a servant of the devil. Dude. There is nothing funnier to me than how much right-wing administrations in general, but specifically the Trump administration, plays the role of biblical Satan so perfectly, okay? Four horsemen of the apocalypse type on a regular basis. Measles cases are popping off. There's mass disease, death and destruction everywhere. You have your second in command, the shadow president, who is literally a lizard person, can't even behave normally. Elon Musk. Not only is he a lizard person, but he's trying to put microchips in people's brains. They're doing black bagging operations for the state of Israel for the crime of saying mean things about the apartheid state, doing a genocide. Very clearly, these guys are trying to nuke everything. These are the end of times, and virtually all of the people that are supposed to believe in angels and Jesus Christ coming back to earth or whatever, unironically love this guy. How is this possible? If you are hallucinating on a daily basis that the end times are near, well, these guys are bringing it. They're bringing it to you. And you still are just like, hell yeah, nah, you don't understand. It's actually them goddamn lipdars that are bringing the end of times, not my president. It's like, what do you want? What more can you see from this administration that will cause you to go, you know what? Maybe these guys are not the good guys here. It doesn't make any sense. Everything that these guys complained about, 1984, free speech is falling apart, they're doing. Your guys are doing it. And you don't see it. What are we doing here? It blows my mind. Dude, the guy, the servant of Satan, went and shook the hand of the holiest holy man of Catholicism and killed him. And you're still going, I don't care. The end times are near. It makes me so mad because I don't believe in any of that shit, okay? I don't believe in any of that shit, but you do. You believe it. So why don't you see the things that you believe? It's unfolding in front of your eyes. It makes me so mad. It makes me so mad. These guys are fake. They're phony rapture enjoyers. The real rapture is happening, and these motherfuckers don't see it. Luca Big Pants. My theory so far, evil gas, invisible laser beam. No, my favorite is that this actually separates, this actually will cause anti-Semitic infighting. Okay, are you ready for this? Here's why it's going to cause anti-Semitic infighting. For the real anti-Semitism enjoyers, the real heads, no. One of the oldest anti-Semitic conspiracies is that the Pope is secretly controlled by the Jews. They think that, you know, the entire Catholic Church, the entirety of the Vatican is controlled by Jews. So this is going to cause a separation between the different anti-Semites, because some of them are going to say, well, the Pope is controlled by the Jews, and that's why JD Vance assassinated him, because, I don't know, he's just, he's based. He's my based Omega Groiper pilled secret neo-Nazi who has is hiding their secret base levels or whatever. But then the other people are also going to be mad because they're going to say JD Vance actually killed him because the Pope has been too critical of Israel. JD Vance used the new secret Israeli poison to kill the Pope. Now, of course, the reality is the Pope was 88 years old, okay? Just let's make no mistake here. This is not like a, oh, he died so young type situation. Like, oh, how could this have happened? Like, he was very sick and he was very much 88 years old. I'm pretty sure that part of the reason why part of the reason why they allowed this woke Pope to be Pope to begin with was because he was already living on borrowed time, when they were like, oh yeah, we'll just slot this guy in. Maybe we'll tweak the Catholic churches. Maybe we'll tweak the Catholic churches like PR a little bit. Okay, because we've been getting kind of a bad rap with all the pedophilia and also all the Nazi stuff. Then he just survived. He just stayed alive for a lot longer than the expectation was. And in the process, he actually rebuilt the covenant too. I'm going to get into this because like this has been a quiet fascination of mine. Given the Pope's background, I've talked about this before. I have quietly been fascinated with all of the inner machinations of the Catholic Church, especially when I found out that they just have pieces of bones of saints that they just ship off to every church around the planet. I think that's the most metal thing you can do. Okay. When I found that out, I was like, this is kind of cool. I'm not going to lie. Like, it's freaky, but it's also kind of sick. Anyway, this Pope is woke. Okay. He is significantly more woke than any other Pope that has ever existed. And, you know, that was unexpected. Certainly. That was definitely unexpected. He is a Pope that followed, ironically enough, the socialist tradition, which is hilarious to think because, you know, that's kind of what Christianity is supposed to be about, you know? Like, think about it. What is heaven but a utopian, communist, classless, moneyless, borderless, stateless society? That's what heaven is. That's the prize. Jesus himself, kind of a brown socialist when you think about it. Anyway, so yeah, first non-European Pope in 1,300 years, first Latin American Pope, and he was definitely, I think, the best Pope. I don't know like all the, you know, I don't know the 265 others, but in terms of like the latest popes, I would say that this guy was so far above, so much better. First of all, he wasn't a Nazi. So that's like immediately you're like, you have elevated above many of the previous popes. Like the fact that the only like conservative perspectives that he had was that, you know, no women still, and also no abortion is crazy. He was pro-trans, dude. He was pro-trans. Like, that is psychotic. You can't have a Pope. You can't have the leader of Catholicism be more woke than a fucking beloved child's book author, J.K. Rowling. Do you understand? He wasn't pro-trans. Dog, he invited trans people to the Vatican, dude. What are you talking about? That is the most pro-trans you will get as the Pope. Like, we're talking about the Pope. When we talk about the Pope being progressive, it's not going to look like the sweaty anarchists in your commune. Yes, the Pope wasn't abiding by zir pronouns. I know. He was 88 years old. It's so funny because, like, I think this caused a major rift within the different the different Catholic churches in like America too, because the American one is like freakish. I'm putting my vote for the Swagapino Pope, by the way. Just Pinoy gang. Much respect. Hopefully he'll be the one. I was looking into the background of all the other popes as well. There's a really funny list out there of all of the different positions of all of the other like top contenders. And obviously we'll look into that as well. Who are the favorites to succeed Pope Francis? Now, one of the things that Pope Francis did, by the way, I'm going to get to his background in a second, but one of the things that Pope Francis did while he was alive, all the way up until the very last moment, because he knew he was living on borrowed time, was to basically bring in a bunch of super progressive priests into the covenant. Like, he packed the courts, or cardinals, not priests, sorry. He packed the internal machinations of voting for the next pope. I'm sure you guys have watched Conclave, so you're like somewhat familiar with it. But he added a bunch of cardinals that were woke as fuck with the hopes that he could continue his legacy of moving the Catholic Church in a progressive direction. Yeah, please read the clear confusion. He welcomed trans people and even trans sex workers, but was against gender-affirming surgeries and the idea that gender was fluid. Yes. If there's an American pope, I will kill myself. Dude, the American Pope is one of the worst. The American Pope sucks. He is dog shit. I cannot stress this enough. Shocking absolutely nobody. I must repeat, the American Pope is a fucking awful. The German one, I think, is the Pope that I saw that was talking about how Muslims are actually invading Europe. That's another demon. I think we're due for another Nazi Pope, okay? The Catholic Church could not maintain this like woke outlook for as long as it did. I'm telling you, if the German one becomes a Pope, it's gonna be devastating. Yeah, here, this is the important part of it. 108 out of the 135 cardinals who are going to be eligible to vote in the next papal conclave were consecrated by Francis. Like, I'll concede that this doesn't necessarily mean Tegel is a lock to win or anything, but the chance that the next pope is going to suddenly be antithetical to Francis is very low. He was a kind and humble guy. He did know how to play palace politics. He stacked the odds. I've seen most of the front runners listed as conservative, though. Francis seemed to prioritize cardinals for diversity of the Master Church's global presence, which makes a lot of sense, but from what I've read, it doesn't seem like he was selecting for ideological alignment. It's 110, not 108, but yeah, god damn, you guys are so locked in on Catholicism. It's crazy.
The customs of the Catholic Church are clear and carefully orchestrated.
Dude, this is kind of sick. Like, look. I'll say it like this. In this day and age where everything is McDonald's, everything is burger, everything is gun burger, it is kind of cool to see these guys like do something so silly, okay? Do something so insane where they just like still dress like this. They go to the same institution that has been around for a thousand plus years. Like, it's cool. It's cool when everything's computer, but the Pope is not computer. I like that. I like that. That's like kind of cool. I think it's dope. This is why so many ex-Catholics love Warhammer 40K. Yeah. Catholicism is low-key goth and metal-ish while also being mean girls in red robes. Yeah.
Once the period of mourning is done, the centuries-old tradition to elect a new Pope known as the conclave.
I love the aesthetic of the Catholic Church, but despise the molesting of kids. Yeah, no shit. Dude, that's so funny. Yeah, that's pretty bad. I agree.
And shrouded in secrecy gets underway. Over the next 2 weeks, cardinals under the age of 80 from across the globe will descend on Vatican City, holding a series of formal meetings known as general congregations, and more informal, direct conversations too.
And keep in mind that cardinals are human beings, they're political animals.
5 gifted subs
as well. They will be meeting in various places. You know, Cardinal X will say to Cardinal Y, I've been...
Like, this, in my opinion, is way cooler than, you know, the British monarchy. Like, I don't know why, but I think this is... I don't know why, but I find this to be, like, way cooler than I don't know, the shit that, like, the British monarchy does and all of the bells and whistles associated with it.
Talking about this to Cardinal Zed.
You would have been a hilarious Catholic.
Let's go have a pizza.
It all comes down to the voting. The process so fascinating, so mysterious, it's been recreated in the blockbuster hit Conclave.
We're about to choose the most famous man in the world.
And 1.25 billion souls watching.
The word conclave comes from Latin, meaning law.
You've never been in a Mormon temple? Say what you will about the church as a whole, but the rituals are pretty neat. Yeah, but the Mormons made that shit up too recently for me to take it seriously. That's the difference. Do you not understand? My point is, this shit has been around a lot longer than the Mormon church has. Like, I'm sorry, if your rituals were rewritten in like 1987, it's gonna be very difficult for me to take it seriously. Mormonism across the board like has very cool churches and yada yada. I know it's great, whatever, but like this the same halls in the same space they're occupying for the past 2,000 years, dude. Are you kidding me? That's huge.
Locked with a key. The cardinals are sealed inside the Sistine Chapel, as Michelangelo's frescoes bear witness. No phones, no electronics of any kind, not even any notes. After day one, there are 4 rounds of secret ballots every day, until one name receives a 2/3 majority. Back in 2013, Francis was elected after just 2 days. And this year, the list swirling of likely contenders who may be pontiff material spans the globe from Asia to Africa to the Holy Land to Europe and Canada. Will the next pope be someone close to Francis, set to continue his legacy, or a more conservative voice set on pulling back Francis's progressive agenda?
No.
Also, age is very important. The Vatican is a very strange place because someone who is 65 or 70 is considered too young. Very few cardinals want another papacy that lasts another 30 years.
As the secret voting continues, the cardinals burn the ballots twice a day, and the masses outside await.
And once they get the 2/3 majority vote, the one that they burn is burned with like a chemical that turns white.
The smoke. Black smoke means no pope yet, and white smoke announces a pope has been chosen.
Okay, that was a fascinating look at what comes next. Let's talk a little bit more about the timeline. The funeral, of course, later this week. Preparations for the conclave already getting underway today, is that right?
Yeah, it's already beginning, Craig.
He's look, even the adopted name of Francis comes from, I think, like the humble aesthetics of the Pope. Like he said he wanted not like a crazy funeral, but a normal one, which probably is not going to happen, obviously, because he's the Pope. Chad is Catholic on this day. We are all Catholic today. We are all in support of our Catholic brothers and sisters on this beautiful day. And amen. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed by thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Amen. If the Philippine got a pope, we are never getting abortion and divorce. That's so funny. All right. Conclave, 15 to 20 days after death, usually 2 to 3 days long.
Just getting news of the laying of the Pope's body in the coffin happening tonight at 8 p.m. Local time in Rome. As you've mentioned, Craig, there are now 9 days of mourning. While, of course, cardinals from around the world will be getting on planes as we speak, heading for the funeral and the conclave. Lots of decisions need to be made. These events will all be watched by billions around the world, not only Catholics, Craig. An important moment for the church. Craig.
Indeed. Our chief international correspondent, Keir Simmons, for us. Keir, thank you.
So I will say that I think ultimately it doesn't really matter. If the Pope is woke, clearly it doesn't necessarily change a lot of the global Catholic opinion on these issues. Or maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm cynical, and you guys will tell me that your Catholic parents have actually been convinced not to be as like hateful because of how woke this Pope is. Maybe. I don't know. I think that, Pope Francis was a champion of so many progressive causes. And it's not like the Catholic world magically overnight turned into a ecumenical Marxist position. You know, they didn't turn around and behave like liberation theologists. Maybe it's because my perspective is a little bit busted by looking at the most reactionary people on the planet, which is Americans. And American Catholics, albeit much nicer than American Protestants, evangelical Protestants, are still obviously incredibly reactionary in comparison to the Pope. So that part is what is guiding me to assume that not a lot of people were listening to the Pope, at least in the United States of America. I have found that my American Catholic family members denied this Pope because he was too woke. If you're a liberal Catholic, check out Dorothy Day and the Catholic Worker. You agreed with him. If you were conservative, then you didn't like him. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of American Catholics who are incredibly reactionary in comparison to, especially this Pope, we're just like, this Pope is a fake Pope. I'm just going to not listen to the things that he's saying. And then if you listen to the Protestants, he's a heretic anyway, because Protestants are mentally ill for the most part. You know who I'm talking about, okay? You know who I'm talking about. Don't take offense to what I'm saying. But American evangelical Protestantism, I think, is like singularly associated with severe, crippling mental illness, okay? It is crazy. Evangelicals are so psychotic, so insane. They think the Catholicism is like heretical or whatever, right? They'll be like, the Pope is a symbol of the devil. That's one thing. They also literally are the first people that would lynch Jesus Christ if he were to return to earth. Okay, no Megiddo, no fighting the fucking devil's forces, none of that. Why? Because a fucking evangelical Protestant hog would literally get out of a Dallas megachurch, go to his fucking F-150 pickup truck that's lifted, grab his AR-15 and spray him, okay? If Jesus Christ came back on earth, he would get fucking lynched by Sunday in the aftermath of a church gathering on Sunday, if he were to ever arrive at a fucking Dallas megachurch parking lot, it wouldn't even get to like ICE deporting him. They would literally melt him on the spot. Anyway, Pope Francis championed historically progressive stances. Let's take a look at some of those stances, okay? First, why it matters. His advocacy often clashed with the church's more conservative wing, particularly after the pontiff criticized conservative theologians' suicidal attitude towards social change. Francis aimed to give women more leadership roles in church governance. In January, he named the first woman to head a major Vatican office. On climate change, Francis was outspoken against climate change and cast the blame on wealthy countries for global warming. Unfortunately, we've gotten to a point of no return, he said in a 2024 CBS News interview. It's sad, but that's what it is. Global warming is a serious problem. Climate change at this moment is a road to death. Francis in 2015 called pollution a sin and cited a moral obligation for international agreements to combat the effects of global warming, per the Washington Post. On LGBTQ plus people, Francis expanded the church's acceptance of same-sex couples and transgender people. In 2023, Francis granted priests the ability to bless same-sex couples under certain circumstances. This rule change didn't alter the church's doctrine concerning same-sex marriage, holding that the blessings cannot be given at the same time as a civil union and can't resemble weddings in any way. He said laws that criminalize homosexuality were unjust. He also decided transgender people could be baptized within the Catholic Church and serve as godparents. But in May, he apologized after reports resurfaced that he used a slur to refer to gay men in a closed-door meeting, which, by the way, canonically, he used a term that Austin and I and many others believe is exclusive to gay men, and I think that he used the F slur in a very gay way and not in a way where he was being homophobic. He did it in a very funny way. He did it twice, not once, but twice. It was so firmly a part of his lexicon that he just could not stop using it. So all the gays loved him for it. So I think it's fine, right? If the gays weren't on board with it, that would be something different. But the gays seemingly were very much on board with it. Okay. Immigration and world issues. Francis criticized the Trump administration in January and February for its plans to carry out mass deportation of migrants. He condemned deporting people who in many cases have left their own land for reasons of extreme poverty, insecurity, exploitation, persecution, or serious deterioration of the environment. He called for an investigation into whether Israel's military actions in Gaza legally constituted genocide. He criticized Israel's attacks on Palestinians and kept in regular touch with the parish priest of Gaza. He called them pretty much every day, by the way, the Gazan church. Like he was incredibly outspoken on Israel's genocide in Gaza. So there are a lot of things that the Pope did that put him in the crosshairs of some of the worst demons within the Catholic Church and its structure, specifically Americans. He was very cool. He comes from a socialist background, a liberation theologist background. You know, some might criticize his actions in Argentina, initially claiming that he collaborated with the regime and allowed socialists to be slain in the process. I mean, this is something that I've actually covered in the past, a couple of years prior, but overall, he was Hamas. The Pope was Hamas.
Buonasera, Santo Padre.
Buonasera, come stai?
Sto bene, grazie a Dio. Mi scusa, è stato con il Santa Messa.
Ah, con la messa. E dimmi,
Sì.
cosa avete mangiato oggi?
Del pollo, le ali. Il resto del pollo? Il resto del pollo, la salita, che tal, Santo Padre? Lo che quedò del pollo de ayer. Quasi tutti il compound qua ha mangiato pollo. Casi
Pollo.
todos los refugiados acá comieron pollo ayer.
Ieri hanno mangiato pollo.
Anche il doctor Atallah. E también el doctor.
come va?
كلت فراخ النهارده يا دكتور؟ كلت
Dottore.
فراخ النهارده. الحمد لله.
Salam alaikum.
Anyway, it's sad. It's sad that it's sad. He was chill. He was much better than what the expectation is from a fucking pope in general. Does anybody actually care what the pope says? Does it matter having a woke pope versus a conservative pope at all? I think that a conservative pope has the capacity to ruin people's lives way harder, whereas a woke pope at the very least can like move the Catholic Church in a more positive direction, even if people don't want to listen to him. That's the way I see it. It's like much easier to push things in the rightward direction than it is in a leftward direction. That's the way I see it. Bro, Pope speaks to 1.2 billion people. Of course it has weight. If a Twitch streamer has weight, then the Pope has too. First of all, I don't think a Twitch streamer has that much weight. Okay, that's my, I don't believe that the Twitch streamer has that kind of weight, that kind of motion. But he considered what was going on in Gaza to be unconscionable and routinely checked in. And what more can you expect? Why are you acting as if it matters to the cardinal who's chosen as a Nazi when you know damn well that St. Peter will descend into their body and speak as God's emissary? It's not that the church has become more woke. God has. I like the hog Catholic saying that God is bad now. God is too woke. Yeah, I mean, this is a very famous pick. Here's Pope Francis cheerfully receiving a replica gift of hammer and sickle crucifix made by Luis Espinal, a human rights activist who was killed by a paramilitary death squad in 1980. A remembrance that we once had a pope who saw Jesus the carpenter, Christ the worker. Like he was very much in the Jesus Christ was a socialist and that heaven is a communist utopia camp, which is true. It literally is true. Under normal circumstances, Catholicism is supposed to be a firm part of the dialectics that constantly works to undermine capitalist dogma. And look how much motion the Pope had in that regard. Not a lot is what I'm saying. Like that's my point.